All right, so if you're watching this, chances are you got golfer's elbow, the pain on the inside of your elbow, or tennis elbow, the pain on the outside of your elbow, or you're trying to prevent these injuries from happening in the first place if you're a smart cookie. Anyways, I'm going to give you prevention tips, 7 prevention tips that you can use straight away. And I'm gonna give you some rehabilitation exercises for those who already have golfer's elbow or tennis elbow. All right, so let's get straight to the point. The first thing is how do you prevent it? How do you prevent it? Notice the warning signs. I can't emphasize this enough of how important it is to notice the warning signs. And I'm totally speaking from my personal experience. I overlooked the warning signs for months and months and months, and I had this stiffness and this soreness, and after training sessions, I tried to stretch my arm, my elbow, or something, and it didn't really go away, and it would get a little bit better, and it wouldn't be a hindrance, but right after the next workout I'd get the stiffness again. And once I actually increased my intensity way more and increased my volume, I got a tennis elbow injury. Basically, my tendon got inflamed, it got inflammation, and now I gotta do rehabilitation exercises just because I thought it would magically fix itself. No, no, you should never approach these situations that are reoccurring again and again, like they're just gonna magically fix it's like themselves. Okay, you don't approach these situations like they're gonna fix themselves automatically. For days where you don't feel as recovered, and you might have the soreness, right? And you might need some more recovery. Okay, you recover well enough, then you can train hard. You don't have the soreness again. Okay, that's okay. But for the injury, for the stiffness that keeps on repeating itself every training session, you need to not ignore the warning signs, or you'll pay the price. Up to the next thing, don't increase your volume and or intensity too fast. don't don't increase it too high too fast. You need to increase it gradually, because what a lot of people don't understand what they've never really considered is that, okay, your muscles might feel recovered, but your tendons, man, they take longer to recover than your muscles. And so, if you keep on increasing the intensity, okay, you might, adapt, your muscles might adapt quite fast, but your tendons won't. And you'll start getting those warning signs. And on top of that, you might ignore those warning signs, and you got golfer's elbow, or you got tennis elbow, and here you go. Here you go. It's what you pay. This is called, in other words, it's ignorance tax. Okay, you're paying for what you didn't know. So you didn't know that you shouldn't increase your uh, intensity and volume too fast. Now you're paying the price. Okay, so up to the next thing, it's recovery. Okay, sleep. I've been undermining my sleep for months and months and months, expecting that I'll get optimal results. Okay, I've also been um, undermining my stress levels. So I had, uh, okay, so let's say I had hard training sessions, and the day after, and then the day after, I had quite stressful days, and so then, like 3 days after my main like training session, I had another pull day. And so, because of those stress levels, my body couldn't actually repair itself as well, because of those heightened stress levels. it was in fight or flight state, and my tissues weren't recovering because they weren't prioritizing the recovery. They weren't prioritizing the rest and repair state. They were prioritizing the fight or flight state, and so my tissues didn't recover as well. And now, uh, you might have a shitty workout, and if you try too hard, you will basically just, you know, injure yourself. Take notice of your stress levels. That's a huge one. And your sleep, obviously. Yeah. The next thing is, don't max out every workout. Do not max out every workout. I know. It's very important to like test your max reps, your max weights that you can pull. I know it's important, and it's fun to push yourself. But if you do it every workout, you keep on doing it every workout without letting yourself recover well enough, you'll just crumble, man. You'll just develop those overuse injuries because you kept the volume and the intensity. You're just betting for yourself to fail eventually. So don't max out every workout because it just builds up the fatigue. And like, if you're not structuring it correctly, you're just gonna build up the fatigue and the irritation in your elbows, and then pop, one day you're just gonna get it. You're gonna get the injuries. Uh, the next thing is train your forearms more frequently. You need to train your forearm flexors, especially I'm talking about the pull up, the chin up thing, right? If you're doing those frequently, which I guess you do because you're watching this channel, you need to train your forearm flexors way more because they matter a lot. And also, they keep, when you do those wrist curls that you need to do to train your forearms, and you can do the rise bucket thing and stuff, but and some finger flexion. But basically, when you do that, when you train your forearms, it supplies enough blood flow for your tissues, for your tendons to actively repair. So you're doing this active recovery, right? uh, which you're gonna need to do when you injure yourself. You're gonna need to do some active recovery, but what you're basically doing when you're doing those forearm exercises, when you're training your forearms, is again you're supplying your tissues with blood flow, your tendons, and you're pre rehabilit pre rehabilitating yourself, prehabbing yourself. Basically, you're preventing yourself from getting an injury. So the sixth thing that's very important is you not taking deloads. Deload is basically where you decrease your intensity and or volume by 30 to 50%. You just make trainings easier to let your body recover from the previous training sessions, and that's how you get back to your full like strength and stuff. Because over time, when you have the intensity or you have the volume very high, you build up a lot of fatigue. So you need to decrease that fatigue. One of the very effective ways of how you can do that is by deloading, by taking a deload week. It's not like you're gonna lose all the progress and you're not stopping your training sessions. You should never really stop training unless it's very, very serious. But you're still training during deload sessions, but you're decreasing the intensity and or volume. You need to have this interplay between those two things. But yeah, not taking deload weeks is an issue. It's an issue that a lot of people do, that a lot of guys do, and it costs them their progress, then they plateau. The risk of injury is just increases, okay? So take deloads. Don't forget to take deloads. All right, and the last thing that helps prevent overuse injuries is changing your grips. Sometimes the way you grip the bar when doing pull-ups. So try out chin-ups. Try out neutral grip pull-ups. Okay, you can do some ring pull-ups as well. Like try some variations, especially when you start to feel like a little bit of irritation. So it helps. Okay, it helps to change your grips from an overhand grip to an underhand grip. It helps. All right, so here are the 7 prevention tips of how you can prevent overuse injuries from happening. How if you're a smart cookie, if you actually take advice, just just please take advice. You don't want to prolong your progress by 3 or 6 months. No, you don't want that. All right, so for those who got an injury, congrats. I'm not gonna like overjudge you. Let's get straight to the point how to rehabilitate yourself. If you have golfer's elbow, the pain on the inside of your elbow, right here, what you're gonna do to rehabilitate yourself is you need to do 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps of eccentric wrist curls with a light dumbbell. Let's say at first you might increase the weight by a little bit. The key is to not go to failure, but to get to really get that blood flowing by doing higher repetitions. Okay, to really get that blood flowing to the tissues, to the tendons that you need to recover. So you'll take a light dumbbell, uh, preferably like 1 to 2 kilograms, and you'll do eccentric, meaning the lowering phase, the negative phase. Okay, eccentric wrist curls for your golfer's elbow. And preferably you have your arm on a desk like that, and you'll pull the hand toward yourself and you'll lower eccentrically. You will lower the weight for 3 to 5 seconds, and you'll do that again for 10 to 15 repetitions for 3 sets. Now, for the tennis elbow, what you should do is reverse eccentric wrist curls. So you pull the weight up and then you lower it slowly for 3 to 5 seconds. And then you with the help of the other hand you pull it back up, and then you lower it for 3 to 5 seconds, and basically 3 sets of that again. Like you can do it every day, but make sure you start with the lightweight. The point of it is to get the blood flowing to the tendon area so it heals up faster. If the overuse injury gets more aggravated by the exercise, I advise you to like either lower the reps or lower the sets. And if it keeps like if the whole thing keeps on not healing itself by you doing the exercises, 1 to 3 weeks, go to a specialist, get it checked out, and actually get a person to help you rehabilitate yourself. Because if you want to get back to the game as soon as possible, you need to rehabilitate yourself as efficiently as possible. All right, that's mainly it. For those who still didn't get the injury, please be a smart cookie and learn from other person's mistakes. Okay, take these tips that I just gave you. Okay, and learn. Uh, for those guys who did get the this overuse injury or several of these, just focus on having this goal in your mind that you'll overcome this. Don't get into this depressed state of mind, because it's really easy to just become very sad and become very negative about the whole situation, and then it doesn't help you with uh, it doesn't really help you with the action of rehabilitating yourself, and it kind of helps you with losing hope, which is which is like not what you need right now the most. You should understand that this is fixable if you put in enough effort. And if you want to get back to the game as soon as possible, which you will if you try, you need to try. Okay? You should keep in mind that with effort, you will solve the problem and you shouldn't beat yourself over it because it already has happened. Like the only thing you can do is just rehabilitate yourself, actively rehabilitate yourself, do the active recovery. All right, that's it. These are my tips. Hope you found this helpful. Succeed or die trying.